Big Cat Rescue Tour Guide Class. Big Cat Rescue offers regularly scheduled tours of the sanctuary to the public. These tours are an hour-and-a-half walking tour of the sanctuary and are guided by keeper and partner volunteers. Children under 10 years old are not permitted on the day tour. The day tour is offered Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday and Fridays at 3 p.m. and Saturday and Sunday at 10 a.m. and 1 p.m. The cost of the day tour is $36 per person. Children under 10 years old are permitted on kids' tours. The kids' tour is offered Saturday and Sunday at 9 a.m. The cost of the kids' tour is $19 per child under 10 years old and $36 for all others. The guided tours of the sanctuary give Big Cat rescuers the opportunity to educate the public about the mission of the sanctuary, as well as the plight of the cats, both in the wild and in captivity. Tour guide policies. Be up front, ready to go 30 minutes prior to the tour start time. You may be asked to assist with parking, sign-in, or check-out prior to starting your tour. Be dressed in clean, appropriate clothing and wearing a smile when greeting guests. Have a working radio at all times. The radio must also be turned on and set at a level so you can hear communications over the radio.
The tour is going to be Nancy sharing the tour with Alex, who will be signing her off, and Rachel will be backing up.
This is very important in the event of an emergency. The radio channel should be tuned to 10.1. Check the important updates section of the BigCat.me site for information such as areas of the tour path to avoid prior to the start of the tour. All guests should be given detailed instructions on where to park, sign in, and wait for the tour. Upon entry to the parking lot, guest cars should be visually inspected for pets. It is illegal in the state of Florida to leave a pet in the car for any length of time, even with the air conditioning left on. Tour guests who have paid and signed release forms should be asked to wait in the tour waiting area behind the Trading Post gift shop for the tour to begin. Tour guides should stay, if possible, after the conclusion of the tour to assist with the gift shop, parking lot, and to answer guest questions. If the tour guide cannot stay after the tour, the gift shop manager should be notified prior to the start of the tour. If guests speaking a foreign language arrive at a regularly scheduled tour time and a volunteer who speaks that language is available, the group will be offered a tour in their language at the regular day tour or kids tour rate. If the tour is not at a regularly scheduled tour time, then private tour rates would apply. The tour guide or the backup should prepare the Vox and automated tour system. There is a limited number of Vox systems. If one is available, it should be used. The Vox system allows for the tour guide to communicate with the guests via a speaker and transmitter worn by the guide and receivers and earbuds worn by the guests. At the completion of this class, please watch the Vox system video. The automated tour system allows the guide to play the cat's rescue stories via a smartphone through the Vox system. Inclement weather and cancellation policies. Tours will not be conducted when there is lightning or heavy rain. In some cases, the tour may be canceled if the tour path areas are too muddy to pass. If the tour is canceled by BCR staff prior to its start, a full refund will be issued to each guest. If the tour has already begun and is canceled, each guest will receive a free pass to return at a later date. If the guests insist on taking a tour in light rain, inform them that there are no refunds, only rain checks, which will be given if the rain intensifies or if they change their mind midway. Umbrellas are not permitted. Rain ponchos can be worn instead and are sometimes sold in the gift shop. If there are not enough tour guides to accommodate guests that arrive for a regularly scheduled tour time, each guest will receive a 2-for-1 pass to return at a later date. Information for the beginning of the tour. Guests should be encouraged to use the restroom and purchase water before the tour begins. The purchase of water should be strongly recommended during the warm weather. There are also water stations throughout the tour path that guests may take advantage of. Guests should be asked to notify the guide or backup if they feel faint or lightheaded at any time. Guests should be notified that you can call for a golf cart at any point during the tour if a guest requests it, so that they can be escorted to either the cooling station or the gift shop. There are drinks and snacks available for overheated guests in both areas. Guests should be informed the tour is a walking tour and approximately 1.5 hours long, partially in the sun. Comfortable shoes should be worn. Golf carts are available for tour guests that cannot walk the tour paths for a nominal fee. Arrangements should be made prior to the tour. Guests should be warned about uneven paths, sharp barricades, and fire ant hills. Recommend that any purses, backpacks, or bulky photo equipment be left in the car. Any guest with extra camera equipment should be informed that during the regular tour, they won't have time to do more than snap pictures. You can suggest setting up a private tour at this time, which would give the guest ample time to view the cats of their choosing. Go over the use of the Vox system with the guest and answer any questions. Rules for tour guests. Play the rules video in the tour waiting area before the tour begins. The following rules will be explained on the video. Explain to the guests that the barricades should be treated as if they go all the way up, and that no part of their body or any of their belongings can cross over into the area between the barricade and the enclosure, including leaning over to take a photo. This rule must be followed exactly to protect the guests and the animals. No horseplay or running. No smoking during the tour. Cell phones should be turned off or muted. Keep up with the tour. No wandering or lingering back. Explain to the guests politely that breaking the rules will cause them to be escorted from the property. All tour guides are responsible for the safety of their guests and may request a backup if one is not assigned. Certified service dogs cannot be refused from any tour by law. Service dogs are permitted to go anywhere that the public can go, as long as they are not posing a direct threat to the safety of the public. If a service dog poses a threat to the public, the dog can be removed from the property. However, a particular incident cannot be applied to banning of future service dogs. While we cannot turn away a guest with a service dog, we do not promote that such an opportunity is available. Management of hostile guests. If a guest becomes disruptive or hostile, the volunteer, intern, or staff member has several options. The tour guide may announce to the tour that due to the person's conduct, the entire tour group must return to the gift shop or the nearest access gate to the parking lot to escort the guest off property, after which the tour will resume. The tour guide may call on the radio for a coordinator check and specify the location, which is code alerting the coordinator that there is a disruptive guest. The coordinator may then escort the guest off the property. Depending on the severity of the disruption and the instincts of the volunteer, intern, staff member, or coordinator, 911 should be called. If 911 is called from a landline, after dialing, the phone may be left unattended off the receiver, so the caller can get back to the disruptive guest or situation. Police will automatically be dispatched to the location even if the caller does not speak to the operator. If 911 is called from a cell phone, the caller must give the operator the address to which the police should be dispatched to. The disruptive guest should be notified that the police have been called. Even if they have not, it may be a good tool to use to get the guest off the property. Then the guest should be escorted to their car and asked to leave the property. In any instance of a disruptive guest, the tour guide should begin walking their group back to the gift shop or nearest access gate to the parking lot. Standing in one place and continuing the confrontation should be avoided. If police are called to the property and the disruptive guest is refusing to be escorted back to the gift shop or parking lot, gift shop staff or volunteers should request the location of the disturbance on the radio and then escort the police to the location. Tour routes. Tour guides are responsible for choosing a route that ensures the following. They see a representative collection of species, learn our mission, finish within 1.5 hours. Upon completion of the tour, guests should end up at the gift shop. Explain to the guests that all gift shop sales directly benefit the cats, in particular the sponsorship kits. Topics. The following is a list of topics that should be touched on during the course of the tour. Cats' origins, pets, retired performers, police confiscations, fur farms. Exotic cats as pets. They do not make good pets no matter how they are brought up. White tigers. These are not really endangered species, but are actually crossbred and inbred. Canned hunts. Unwanted pet and zoo cats that do not end up in sanctuaries may end up in a canned hunt where they are shot within an enclosed area for sport. Operating costs. The sanctuary is completely run by donations. The operating cost per day is in excess of $1,000. Donations, gift shop sales, and tours cover 1/3 of this cost. Fur farms. Some of the bobcats and lynx here were rescued from fur farms. These farms raise cats and other animals to slaughter for their pelts. Upcoming events. Special events are listed on the events calendar on the BOBCAT.me site. Zoos, sanctuaries, and circuses. Roadside versus AZA and GFAS accredited. Sponsorship. Packets in all levels of sponsorship are available for sale in the Trading Post gift shop. Tour guides should make sure that these subjects are covered in detail to educate the guests about both our mission and the plight of these animals. Specific individual names, organizations, or companies should not be directly named during the tour. For example, use the word circus instead of Ringling Brothers, zoo instead of Lowry Park, and trainer instead of Siegfried and Roy, etc. Some guests video portions of the tour, and naming specific individuals or organizations could result in slander complaints. A tour script is available for download in the Classes and Maps section of the BOBCAT.me site. This script provides valuable information for giving a well-rounded tour. Also available in this section is the Safari Guide. This guide lists species information as well as the personal rescue stories of each animal living at Big Cat Rescue. The website www.bigcatrescue.org is also a valuable source of information. For volunteers interested in improving their presentation skills, the Tour Guide 2 class is offered. It is vitally important that our guests get an accurate and relevant tour. That is hard to accomplish when tour guides are trying to repeat stories that have been told to them, so we now have an automated tour. We would prefer that all guides give the automated tour. Automated Tour Guide System. Get the app for iPhone here. Get the app for Android here. You can use your phone or one of Big Cat Rescue's iPhones or iPads for training and tours. Just ask the gift shop manager on duty to sign it out to you. It must be returned at the end of the tour. One of the best things about the Big Cat Rescue Tour is that it is always different because different cats will choose to be visible. One thing that should be consistent is the message, and that is hard when there are more than 100 exotic cats here and more than 80 volunteers at different levels of experience and knowledge about the individual cats. The automated tour ensures that all of the important parts of our message are delivered with factual stories about the cats. It is also more interesting to the guest, as they can hear stories told by a professional storyteller and have the sounds of the jungle and the sounds made by that species of cat in the background. The automated tour may be easier to learn than having to memorize the safari guide, but it has its challenges. This class is to help you become proficient in giving the automated tour. After the guests watch the tour rules video, let them know that you will be spotting cats and playing their stories for them using the automated system. Let the guests know that you may stop a story in mid-play if you see another cat come up that may be more interested in the group. You should let them know that they can download the app for free at the end of their tour and hear all of the cat stories and see their photos. The guests will only have one earbud in, so they will be able to hear you ask them to follow you, and they will be able to ask questions and hear answers. Setting up the automated tour system through the Vox box. The tour guide should wear both the Vox transmitter and Vox receiver with an earbud so that they can ensure the stories are playing. The backup should wear a Vox receiver so they know what is being said as well. The mic headset should be plugged into the top jack of the transmitter. The phone or tablet should be plugged into the side jack of the transmitter with a second cable that has a prong on both ends. One end goes into the side jack of the transmitter, and one side goes in the hole you would use for earphones on the phone or tablet. But note, when there is a cord plugged into the side of the transmitter, no one can hear you speaking into the mic. If you want to address the group via the mic, unplug the cord from the side jack on the transmitter, not from the phone or tablet. Be sure to plug the phone or tablet back into the transmitter to continue the tour. Turn the volume on the phone or tablet all the way up. Guests can adjust the receivers to their own hearing level, but if the phone or tablet is only halfway up, then even if the receiver is at full volume, some people with hearing loss won't be able to hear. Make sure you can hear what is being broadcast first by turning on your transmitter and receiver, and make sure that the mute button is not pressed on the transmitter. Ask your guests to turn on their receivers and ask if everyone can hear via their earbuds. You could be playing any story for that test. Before you go out the gate, be sure everyone can hear and knows how to adjust their volume and how to ask the backup for batteries if their unit dies. How to use the Big Cat Rescue app. When the app opens, choose Cat List. To get the initial How We Started info out of the way, go to Rain Dance first and play her story. Look for cats who are out and the cat's plaques coming up to know their names. On the bottom row of the app, look for Cat List. Scroll to the cat's name and click it. It will probably start to play, but if not, then click the little blue play button to play their story. This takes some practice to make it a reflex. If the cat walks away and people begin to get bored with the story, you can look around for the next cat, but you should probably just yell out to the group that you are doing so. Repeat steps 1, 2, and 3. As you get to know the stories and the timing, you will be able to start to move your guests towards the next cat as the story is winding down. This takes some practice to make the entire tour interesting and without lags in audio. If you are walking a long way with no cats, like from TJ back to Nirvana, or if no cats are available, you can click the little home icon at the top left and select Issues. These are good segments to play that talk about some of the important issues if there is no cat in front of the group. You should tell the guests what you are doing, though, so they aren't confused when they start hearing about cats that aren't in front of them. You could say, "I don't see any cats for a couple of minutes, so I'd like to share a story with you." After playing an issue, you will need to click the Home icon at the top left of the screen to get back to cats. The tour guide's primary job will be spotting cats, playing their stories, and keeping the tour moving along. It will take you a few test runs to walk the property and see how many cats come up and how many stories you can play and still be back in the gift shop in 90 minutes. It takes some practice. It may seem like the stories take a long time to play, but it is the first time for the guests to ever hear them, and natural for you to feel a little strange. If you have a personal experience with a cat here that you want to share with your tour, that is okay, but please do not repeat stories you have heard from others. The purpose of the automated tour is to make sure that the tours are factual, and a lot can get lost in the translation when told from person to person. Personal connection between the guides and the guests is important, and that is why the most important part of the tour will come from you. Since this is the only part of the tour you have to memorize, it should be accurate and delivered with both passion and a sincere call to action. This should be at the end of your tour. Take the group to the area with the mock cages and say, "We are almost at the end of the tour, but this is the most important part. If you have questions when we go back in the gate, I'll be available to you to answer them or find someone who can. Big Cat Rescue is a sanctuary, and I just spent the last 90 minutes sharing the cat's stories for one very important reason. I'm a volunteer, but I think this is so important that I make time every week to help this message be heard. There are thousands of big cats languishing in tiny cages all across America right now, and they need your protection. There is no federal law that prevents people from having lions and tigers or other wild cats as pets, and a patchwork of state laws. Florida is considered one of the most humane states when it comes to regulations about keeping big cats. But this cage is the size that the state of Florida says is big enough for you to keep 2 tigers for their entire lives. Most other states don't even require this much space. Some states don't have any regulations about how big a cage must be. In those cases, USDA says that the animals must be able to stand up and turn around, so that circus wagon is considered big enough. If you were to compare 2 tigers at 500 pounds each, compared to your body size, it would be the equivalent of you living in this little box for your entire life. That's not fair. There is no reason that people should be allowed to breed, buy, exploit, and warehouse exotic cats this way, and right now there is a federal bill pending that will stop it. The cats and I are asking you to go to our advocacy corner in the gift shop and sign a petition, or send an email, or better yet, call your legislator and ask them to co-sponsor the Big Cats and Public Safety Act. We have their numbers inside, and someone to help you make the call of the wild. And you will get a pretty cool button to wear that shows others that you spoke up for these wonderful cats. Lead them back into the gift shop, show them the corner, and tell them to search iTunes or Google's Play Store for Big Cat Rescue to find the app that they can download for free to see and hear all of the cats at the sanctuary. After the completion of the tour. Tour guides should remain in the parking lot area to answer guest questions, help with parking, or assist with the gift shop. Avoid lingering in the backyard, as other tours may be staging here to begin. Tour guides should ensure that there is a cashier in the gift shop. Tour guide contract. I will be clean and presentable in appearance. I will be pleasant and welcoming to guests. I will be in place and ready 30 minutes prior to the designated tour start time. I will check the important update section of the BigCat.me site for areas of the tour path or animals to avoid during my tour prior to the start of my tour. I will introduce myself as well as any volunteers, such as backups, assisting the tour. I will clearly and in a friendly manner explain the rules for the tours to the guests before beginning. I will follow the designated tour path. The tour begins and ends in the tour waiting area. I will ensure that my tour lasts 1 hour and 30 minutes. I will take the tour group assigned to me, and any adjustments in numbers or composition will be made only by the coordinator. I will base my tour content on the information available at bigcatrescue.org, BCR Safari Guide and Tour Script, and I will commit to gaining and maintaining knowledge of the animals at BCR and their habits and plight in the wild. I will ensure that I know the mission of BCR and incorporate it into my tour. I will ensure that all origin stories and personal experiences that I tell on my tour are accurate and in line with promoting BCR's mission. I will refrain from using proper or brand names during my tour and generalize information about zoos, circuses, or specific individuals or groups. I will avoid any areas designated off-limits and any vet or staff situation that I may encounter during my tour. I will at all times ensure that my entire tour, including any guests on the golf cart, can hear my tour and view the corresponding enclosures and animals. I will ensure the safety of all guests, volunteers, and myself throughout the tour. I will help out after my tour with the parking lot, guest questions, or the gift shop. I understand that eating, smoking, and using inappropriate language are not permitted and will refrain from such. I will announce on the radio the start of my tour and the number of guests before I leave the backyard. Every volunteer wishing to advance from trainee to keeper or partner must complete the tour guide class as well as the tour guide certification in order to be considered for promotion.